Today we are going to talk about Bohr models. Bohr models are really great because they allow us to illustrate what individual atoms look like. So make sure you have your periodic table and make sure you have two different colored pens or markers or crayons. I'm going to use blue and red. So if you have blue and red, that would be awesome. If not, that's okay. So go ahead and gather those materials and we'll get started. So we're going to look at Bohr models. Bohr models are really important because they tell us important information about atoms. So we're going to do the first one together, and I'm going to walk through it pretty slowly. The first one asks us to look at sodium. So if you look at your periodic table that is hopefully in front of you, I have one here also. And the first thing I'm going to do is find sodium. And you'll notice sodium is over here, tucked in this corner right here. So it's really important for me to look at the periodic table before I am able to do my Bohr model. So you should remember that inside of the nucleus are two very important things. One of those is the number of protons. And remember that number of protons is the same as the atomic number. So we have 11. You can see that sodium has 11 protons. So I up here am going to write really small, 11, and then I'm going to do a plus sign for protons. And that's inside of my nucleus. Perfect. The next thing I need to know is how many neutrons I have. Remember that neutrons is the mass minus the atomic number, right? So here for sodium, I have 23 as my mass, and I have 11 as my number. So I have 12 neutrons. So I'm going to write 12 right here, and I'm going to write a little 0 for neutrons. So there's my nucleus. I have 11 protons and 12 neutrons. Now it's asking me to draw the electrons. Now remember, electrons are those negatively charged particles that are in the electron cloud. And the number of protons and electrons are the same. And so you should remember or know that 2 electrons fit inside this first electron shell. And this is asking me to make my inner electrons blue. So I know I have to put 11 total electrons, and that my first 2 are going to go here. So I have 2 electrons drawn. Wonderful. I had 11 total to draw, and I have drawn 2, which means I have 9 more to draw. How many electrons can fit on the second shell? Hopefully you reminded yourself that it's 8. So I need to get to 9, but only 8 can go in the next shell. So I'm going to go ahead and place my electrons around that second shell. So I had 2, then I put 8, that's 10 total, and I need 11. And this is asking for the outer or valence electrons to be red. And I only have 1 more electron to draw. So there we go. That electron is red because it is a valence electron. All right. And then it says we need to write how many valence electrons it has. And I am going to write 1 because that's 1 valence electron. Next, we're going to look at aluminum. So find aluminum for me on your periodic table. And you'll see aluminum right here in this corner. And you'll notice that its atomic number is 13 and its atomic mass is 26.98, or we would say 27 because we round. So I know I have 13 protons. I'm going to write them right there. I know that in order to find neutrons, I need to do 27 minus 13, which is 14 neutrons. And there we go. My inside, my nucleus, which has protons and neutrons, is now complete. Now I need to go ahead and figure out how many electrons I'm going to have. So I know that protons and electrons must be the same. So if I have 13 protons, how many electrons must I have? Hopefully you said 13. How many go in the first shell? Hopefully you said 2. So there are my 2 electrons. Now I know that I have 11 more electrons to place. 8 of them will go in this second shell. So now I have placed 10 electrons, 2 plus my 8. So I have 10 total electrons, and I know I need to get to 13. Well, these electrons are going to go in the outermost shell, and I know I'm going to have 3 of them. If they're in the outermost shell, remember they're called valence electrons. So I'm going to place my last 3 valence electrons. And for my total number of electrons that are valence, I'm going to put 3. All right, we're going to do carbon next. So go ahead and find carbon on your periodic table. Carbon can be found right here. And I see that I have 6 protons, 6 plus, and I have 6 neutrons. Remember, I found out that I had 6 neutrons because I did the atomic mass minus the atomic number, and 12 minus 6 is 6. My next step is to determine my number of electrons. Remember, protons and electrons are the same. So if I have 6 protons, I also have 6 electrons. So 2 of my little electrons go in the inner shell, and then I have 4 left that need to be placed, and they get placed in this outer shell. So I have 4 valence electrons. We're going to do some more examples together. All right, I would like you guys to try silicone out for me. So find silicone on your periodic table. It's right here for me. And we are going to pause the video, and you are going to see if you can do this independently. So hopefully you pause the video and you were able to find the number of protons, the number of neutrons, and the number of electrons. I'm going to go ahead and put my answers that I got on the board. So hopefully you got that silicone has 14 protons, it has 14 neutrons, and it has 14 electrons. And it has 4 valence electrons. So let's go ahead and try oxygen. Oxygen is right here on your periodic table. Pause the video and please try yourself. Hopefully you paused the video and you're ready to get your answer checked. Here it comes. So hopefully you got that oxygen has 8 protons, it has 8 neutrons, and it has 8 electrons. And then when we place our electrons around our Bohr model, we have 6 valence electrons. Let's go ahead and try chlorine. Chlorine can be found right here on our periodic table. And let's see if you're able to be successful. I know you will be. So go ahead and pause the video and try these out. All right, you should have paused the video and you should have answers in front of you. Here come my answers. So hopefully you got that chlorine has 17 protons, it has 18 neutrons, and it has 17 electrons. And of those 17 electrons, 7 of those electrons are on the outer shell, which makes them valence electrons. All right, so now we're going to try this with even less support. You'll notice there's not a periodic table on this slide. That's because you should have your periodic table in front of you, and you should be able to find these elements. We have fluorine, phosphorus, and lithium. So you need to pause the video. You should check your periodic table and find out the information that you need, and then you should be able to complete these Bohr models. So go ahead and pause the video. It'll be paused for about 5 to 10 minutes because you need to do Bohr models for each one of these elements: fluorine, phosphorus, and lithium. You can do it. Get started. So hopefully you have successfully completed this assignment and you feel really good about this. If not, don't worry, we are here to help you and you can always ask questions. So here come my answers. So here are the answers. So hopefully you found out that fluorine has 9 protons and 10 neutrons. Because it has 9 protons, it also has 9 electrons. So you should have placed those 9 electrons on your Bohr model diagram. And when you did that, you should have noticed that 7 of those electrons were valence electrons. Next, we're going to look at phosphorus. Phosphorus has 15 protons and 16 neutrons. You should have noticed that it also has 15 electrons, and of those 15 electrons, 5 of them are valence electrons. And last but not least, you should have known that lithium has 3 protons and 4 neutrons, and that it has 3 electrons, and that 1 of those electrons is a valence electron. So you're going to go ahead and have some more assignments with this. Come back to this video if you need more help. It is important that we do understand Bohr models and how to draw them.